in Hollywood. Kevin Demoff now joins us, shakes his
What's
head.
with the look?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I had the same look, and I was there.
What's with the look?
I saw it.
Well, that was the same night we had a drunken press conference. So, what happens in Hollywood
stays in Hollywood.
Yeah, once upon a time in Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't stay because it was on Instagram, but nonetheless.
There's no bathtubs here.
Right,
there might be one or two, Cap, but I would stay out of them.
Listen to this helicopter.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear
Taking
this?
off. Chopper number one. We were just talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kevin Demoff, have you had a chance to go up and fly with any of these guys?
I have not. I'm kind of afraid of helicopters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't blame
Super
you.
safe in here.
They don't look like they should fly.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Makes
don't
sense.
look like they should fly. That's right.
But they do. And thankfully these guys do, because they take care of a lot of lives and save a lot of lives and a lot of homes. So I know everybody's very proud to be here. Then last year, as we mentioned, we were in Hermosa, and we're, again, proud to be here. So, Kevin, how did all of this come together?
Look, I think every year we try to think about how we make the draft the best expression of the Rams. Obviously, there's work to be done from a draft perspective in the war room, but as we learned, we can draft from anywhere. It's not that hard. It's not that complicated. And I think if you woke Les up in his sleep with no technology, he would know exactly who to pick, right? And so this year, obviously, as the fires went on and we were starting, at that point, we started normally looking for draft houses in December, January, and we kind of all came together as an organization and said, this just wouldn't be the right message to send in LA to keep it together. How do we go honor first responders? We thought about fire stations, firehouses. The problem with those, quite honestly, is they're active, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to go ever be, the same reason we moved the game. You don't ever want to be the reason someone's home was lost, someone's life was lost. We kind of felt that way about a fire station. And ultimately our group, in talking with LAFD about where we could go, we want to work with you guys. And they really suggested here, which was great. This time of year, hopefully the helicopters, shouldn't all need to be used. There's plenty of space. You can be out of the way. And what a great way to honor, the heroes who helped our city in January, and to bring, I think one of the things we all go through when we go through tragedies is in the moment, everybody's very hyper-focused. And I can think back to everything our city has done, how they've rallied, our game, the rally around that. But we all know as time goes on, things get forgotten. Not that forgotten, or people move on to the rest of their life. And I think during our biggest moment of the offseason, a chance to bring awareness back to the heroic work that LAFD has done, that they will do in the future, and they continue to do right now, seemed like the right partner for us for the draft.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that you guys have done something, and I say not like this, but to honor first responders, because I can remember back to that game where the Rams were hosting the Chiefs in the Coliseum.
Right.
And that was the game that was moved from Mexico City back up to L.A. And at that time, there were fires then, and many of the Rams players and coaches back then were impacted. And you guys put on quite a show that night, too. So being part of the community was something that the Rams seemed to have understood when you first got back to L.A.
Look, I think there's what you call it, be part of the community, which everybody understands, and being involved in schools and being involved in youth programs and everything year-round. I think truly being part of the community is meeting the need when the need exists. And, raising your level and finding those unexpected moments to partner with our city when they need it most. And certainly that happened in January, and, I can think back to what a moment that 2018 game was. And those were lessons you hope never to have to learn again, repeat on. But we found ourselves, playing a game in Arizona using so much of that same playbook in a very different way. But when it comes to the draft, and it's become this huge moment in the offseason, and it seemed to us that we can do so much planning and thoughtful nature. That's what's different about this, is you can truly partner with the fire department for months thinking about how are we going to do this? How are we going to position ourselves in the hangar? How are we going to design merchandise and that they can wear on a daily basis that's thoughtful? When you have time, you're not actually in the emergency. I think that was such a powerful way for us to work with the LA Fire Department, not in the moment when everybody else is like, hey, how can we be part of this? But well outside that moment to be like, what would be impactful for you? And as you walk through the rec room here, which has been redecorated, and now they want to keep the same way, and what we're going to get to see with those people coming in and out this week, and the fire captain and the pride, I think that's what it truly means to be part of the fabric of the city, is to intertwine yourself. So when you can't tell when your city ends and when the Rams brand begin, that means we're doing it the right way.
The rec room is cool. They asked what did they want in there? Recliners and big screen TVs.
What
Doesn't
about
that sound like
DeMarco
us?
Farr
Oh, my
jersey?
God, yeah, that's
We
perfect.
can put one up there.
There
I'm
should
not
be a
sure.
DeMarco Farr jersey.
There's a puka in there already.
Oh,
So
all
I
right,
think
that's a good thing
current
to have.
guys there. But I think this is cool because it's like you said, you're honoring this department. They're not props. This is a real working hangar. So if something happens, there they go. One just took off. But
Right.
But moving back to the draft, weird. 26 pick. it's a good place to be. That means you were pretty damn good the season before, but it's a weird slot to be picking in, 26.
Yeah, I mean, it means you did really well, but not well enough. Mm-hmm. And your award is you're picking somewhat crappy in the first round, right? Which is great. And I think the hard part is you start to walk through all the permutations and what could happen, especially in a draft like this that does seem fairly unpredictable, across the board. But that's where you have such trust in our group. They know what they're looking for. They know what they want to do. And they've been at this for, they start their draft meetings in the summer. They go into September. You walk into his office any Friday during the season. They're working on it. And, it's to prepare for, hey, if we're picking 26, we need to find the 26th player who we're guaranteed we're going to take, who we're going to love. And it's been, an exciting week kind of watching them refine. And, the curveball, what I always love about the draft is it's where, in the moment, it feels like a game day. There's strategy, there's luck, there's something unexpected, but you can make calls, you can move them down. There's palace intrigue and gossip. It's navigating all of that to actually find out what's the truth. And at some point tonight, we'll be on the clock and we'll know a little bit of what the truth was along the way. But I always say, if the draft went 1 through 257 like people expected, it wouldn't be the draft, right? Like, what people love is the one curveball that changes everything. And the sliding doors moment, of this team trades and they took a player and that starts a run on this position. And we saw it last year, the run on quarterbacks, ultimately we're picking 19th. We got the third defensive player taken.
Turned out to be the defensive player of the year.
Turned out to be the defensive player of the year. Yeah. Maybe should have been the first defensive player taken. But, when you go through that, what's that going to be like this year? Is there going to be a run on positions? Probably not quarterbacks, but people saying it may be offensive line heavy, defensive line heavy. Okay, what does that mean? Who's going to get pushed down? And if you want an offensive lineman or defensive lineman, do you take your 7th or 8th choice? Do you take your 2nd or 3rd choice somewhere else? Those are the really fun parts that we're about to find out. Rams
President Kevin Demoff with us here. I love how malleable your front office is. We went from F them picks when the moment called for that, and you guys went all in, to you guys have done, I think in your entire time, at least here in LA, a fantastic job drafting all over the draft. And, you mentioned the defense just a moment ago. We were talking about this during the season. Your defense cost, I believe it was like $24 million.
Same as one of those helicopters.
Right.
And told me a helicopter is 22. I think we're about 24. So.
But it just goes to show you how impressive and how nimble your front office and organization can be.
Look, I think the thing that is always going to be our hallmark is trying to find the inefficiencies within the NFL system and try to exploit them to the best of our advantage, right? I think it doesn't mean whether you're an offensive team or a defensive team or a front seven or an F them picks or a keep them picks. It's when the league zigs, you're going to zag. Because and I think we all do believe this as a front office. There are 32 teams that had players, scouts, covering the country this year who watched all the same games we did, trying to get the same information. The information the NFL has is usually correct on players, by and large, right? First rounders are the best, second, third, fourth. What you have to learn to understand is what is the league overvaluing that maybe you don't care about. For years with us, that was 40 speed, right? And Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams all fit into that bucket. F them picks was, hey, people are probably overvaluing high picks instead of talent. Then the league swung the completely other way and everybody started trading like crazy. Well, there was no longer an inefficiency in what you could get there. And I think where Les and his group and Tony have always been great is, hey, when the league zigs, where can we zag? But not just for the purpose of zagging, but so that we can build a team in a different way than other people are looking at. And I think at 26, you've got to still figure that out, right? Like, don't just sit there and pick the 26th best player. Find the player you think is really going to make a difference for your club. Whether that person was supposed to go 10th and everybody's like, hey, you did a hell of a job, or that person's supposed to go 50th and people are like, you guys are effing morons.
Kevin, I think one of the coolest things about us being here today is this. Like, we'll be on the radio and all the different platforms that we use. We'll be talking about how the Rams are here, to kind of celebrate the LAFD, right? But what I think is super cool is that internally here where we are, you guys have gone out of the way to take care of these firefighters. And I got to say, the food is out of this world. It's unbelievable. But what the thing is that when firefighters are all in their firehouse, they run to the grocery store. That's why you see them out front. They're going in, they're picking up their groceries. They come back, they cook for the entire house. Can you just tell us about whose concept is it to say, let's get a chef from a really fancy restaurant to come here and put out like really, really amazing food for the firefighters.
Well, the shout out for that would go to Cameron from our marketing team, Cameron Malkoff, who's basically went and said, hey, let's go get great chefs. And so Jackson Kolb, who's cooking today, whose restaurants Osby in Venice and Jame, they just opened Jame Taqueria in El Segundo for anybody who wants to go eat this food away from here, said, hey, think of some chefs that you might know who helped out. And, Jackson has a pizzeria in the Palisades that's at the Palisades Village, but they were feeding people at Osby and Jame, first responders, for free. And we're like, how do we reward chefs who kind of did the right thing throughout the time that we knew of, that we could reach out to? And and then you also have to marry it with, like, who serves the kind of food that coaches and scouts want to eat. So Italian works.
Always.
Italian, Mexican, that works really well. Yeah. If it was an Indonesian restaurant, out, maybe far, maybe not as much. I would love it, but I'm not saying, Les's palate's pretty basic.
Yeah.
It's straws.
It's that Alabama in them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think those are the ways you try to make this feel inclusive, right? That you're a guest in their firehouse and their air hangar. And yes, we're bringing all of the swag of the NFL and the NFL draft and the visibility, but how do we make sure that while we're here, we serve them great food, that we be great partners? It's not just an invasion, but we're really trying to make their daily life better.
And some of those guys can really cook. They're tough customers. I mean, you got to work hard to impress them, so that's really cool. You guys, okay, so Les, Tony, Coach McVay, you guys all do a great job at what you do, but you're also guys with senses of humor. You're funny dudes sometimes when you don't have the poker face on. Tell me you guys don't go nuts for these draft day rumors when you hear stuff.
Oh, the draft day rumors are fantastic. And, I would say one of the funny parts in my new role overseeing our teams in Denver, too, is I'm not in the draft meetings every day. So I'll see a rumor and I'll text Les. I'm like, is this actually even close to true? I know I wasn't here yesterday. But, one of the ones that I did laugh about this year was that we top 30 all these quarterbacks. We haven't done a top 30 visit in 5 years. So, it's all of a sudden Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart and all these people have spent copious amounts of times with the Rams and done visits. And I'm like,
huh?
Something changed?
Yeah.
And the hard part is, and I always say this, when the dumber the rumor, you can't debunk it because then people expect you to debunk every rumor, right? And you would just be playing whack-a-mole. But you kind of just read this stuff. And I always say, you laugh because, if they're this wrong about us, and we're trying to read what are the Cleveland Browns are going to do? Well, if you're this wrong about us, I assume who's running the Cleveland Browns is probably just as wrong, about them. And then, truly when you get into the sausage making, I would say the mock drafts, when people call you and you kind of spitball with them on what you think is going to happen, then they say, what are you hearing from other teams? And you see that show up in a mock draft. And you're like, well, wait, we just made this up out of thin air. Right? It's not that you made it up out of thin air, but, and I would say mock drafts are fun because they're really like taking your NCAA bracket where you've got a hunch about a team, and then you're trying to think about the need. You're taking 4 or 5 different pieces of information and trying to be like, well, this makes sense.
It's all confirmation bias.
Right? It's all confirmation. Yeah. I actually texted that to someone yesterday. I'm like, this is all confirmation bias. And then it's like, well, so-and-so's a first rounder, so I got to find a home for them. And well, I'll just give them to the Vikings.
Right.
Right? It's
and make it fit.
And make it fit. Right? And so once you kind of understand that, you take it all with a grain of salt. Now you try to dig through some elements of truth. Who has been more accurate in the past on their reporting, who might have a different knowledge or something that goes right. What our group started doing a long time ago, though, was we compile all the mocks and we throw them into our analytical models. If you look at the players who are mocked to go in the top 100, every year about 91 of those 100 go.
Right.
So what you can safely say is, okay, of the top 3 rounds, these 100 players are going to go in the top 3 rounds. I have no idea if they're going to go 20, 40, 60, 89, but usually that's pretty accurate. And the ones who fall out, it's usually injury concerns or maybe character that, somebody didn't know. A lot of times it's injury. And so, but you always try to sit there and be like, you can watch this mock and all of a sudden one thing gets thrown off. And the whole domino, when everybody starts with these mock drafts predicated on something. For example, the Rams might take a QB at 26. Whether we will or won't, that's why we all tune in to the draft. If we do, that could change everything behind us, or they've got to trade up. If we don't, then, okay, it doesn't matter. It also may be someone thinks, there are lots of rumors about what the Steelers are going to do. Do the teams have to trade above the Steelers to get a quarterback? If someone actually believes that and trades to 20, does that run on 3 or 4 quarterbacks that changes all of the draft. But the rumors are usually, I would say, when you go through rumors, most of the times about your franchise, draft or not, you always try to figure out who does the rumor benefit.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you can try to piece back from there where it goes.
Well, and there's plenty of subterfuge out there as well.
In the draft, a rumor could just be a rumor. It may not benefit anybody. It may just be to hide someone's intentions, to do it. And that's where you kind of always just have to be like, okay, grain of salt. Or, someone who's basing it off of a truth that you didn't know. Oh, I didn't know that this player had a connection to this coach in college. Like, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Kev, just to hustle up here at the end of the hour, I'm curious about what you guys are doing in Woodland Hills as a franchise, the practice facility, the building that you've got going up. We're looking at Green Bay here today, and they've got Titletown right next to the stadium. What is it you guys are exactly doing there?
Well, we already have a Titletown. It's called Hollywood Park. It's next to SoFi Stadium, and I see you guys hanging out at Cosm and plenty of other places. But it's the same exact idea, right? Like, Stan's vision for Los Angeles is always, hey, how do I create more epicenters around sports entertainment? And I don't want to just have a practice facility. I want to make that a place where fans can come and eat and really invest. And I think it's where we talked about this, being symbiotic with the city. You take a look at Los Angeles. No sports teams ever invested in the Valley. The Valley on its own, if you chopped off the rest of Los Angeles, I don't know exactly. Basically, I'm going to say, the Cahuenga Pass to Woodland Hills to, north to the mountains would be the 14th largest NFL market. So if you can go own that and create an epicenter, we're going to basically go create a Hollywood Park and LA Live in Woodland Hills, right? So it's going to have sports bars and restaurants, 2 music venues, a 5,000-seat venue similar to YouTube Theater, 2,500-seat venue that's more of a House of Blues style type. We'll have the facility. We're hopeful to have a museum or something about the Rams, more history-oriented than we do at SoFi, given the 2-team nature. But then also, can that be a place where people, build a new headquarters? Does people want to live in condos, apartments? Do we go build a new hotel? But the goal is to make it a 100-acre sports entertainment district that looks exactly like you would expect at Hollywood Park or LA Live, but do it out in the Valley where no one's really ever invested that time, energy, or money, to really make it a great place to be.
A market inefficiency.
A market inefficiency, that, and look, if there's one person who knows how to work on market inefficiencies in real estate, it's Stan Kroenke.
No doubt
it's
about
amazing
that.
what you guys are doing up there, man. Incredible.
Kevin Demoff, president of the Rams, with us here. Thankful to have you here. Appreciate you having us here. Thank you so much for the time.
Well, my pleasure. It's great to be here. Glad you guys are here, and hopefully this remains calm out here and calm in the back.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah.
Right? Better chance it's calm out here than calm in the back.
Awesome stuff. All right, Kevin, thank you so much. All right.